Hello and welcome to our video. We're going to be talking about social media and TV. I'm Chad Hill and I'm joined by Adam Stetzer.
Yeah, good morning, Chad. This is a very interesting new phenomenon to be observing. We've got some stats this morning that start to describe how the behaviors of how people watching television and using social media are starting to change and morph into each other. Here's an astounding opener. 81% of the people in the U.S. use a smartphone and watch TV at the same time. To me, that's really huge. That's saying 4 out of 5 people are taking what used to be a standalone leisure activity of TV watching and are now browsing the web, and in a lot of cases, we'll see here with some of these other stats, looking at Twitter at the same time. Peak times for sending out tweets about a television program are when people are watching these primetime shows. And some of these other stats here, Chad, 70% of the TV tweets are sent actually during the program. So it's not just that they're waiting for commercials, although you do see a spike there. It's while the program is happening, people are both broadcasting and interested in what other people are saying about the program they're watching. So I think this is an interesting phenomenon. What do we think this means for internet marketing and for Twitter?
Yeah, well, I think for sure this is interesting because really what it's showing is that now the big trick has always been that you have to be on sort of all these screens at the same time. You're on the TV screen, you're on the mobile device, you're on the tablet, and what this is showing is that how these how interconnected things are. So from a programming standpoint, it's really interesting because of course people producing television programs need to find a way to engage with an audience, and Twitter is obviously the way people are what they're using today. What's interesting, and I'm not really sure of, and I think this is going to take some more time to play out, is how advertisers use this data. So clearly, if you're an advertiser and you know that your spots are going on a program that has a lot of social activity, you would be a fool not to think about how can I incorporate or pull in and participate in that conversation while people are viewing it. So it makes the marketer's job harder, but potentially allows them to engage in these discussions. So as an example, if you're watching the season finale of Breaking Bad, well, an advertiser might be able to run their spot during the commercial breaks, but they'd be a lot smarter to also figure out how can they tie themselves in, almost product placement. How can they tie themselves into that Twitter conversation, and that's good. So I think this is really more of a big business type of opportunity at the moment, but who knows how this will evolve over time and what the small business implications might be. Of course, if you're a local bar or a venue where you might be watching the season finale of Breaking Bad, certainly tapping into that audience and saying, come for our Breaking Bad final episode viewing party could be very smart. But again, on a national level, I think it's still something the bigger brands are probably going to be playing with versus the smaller venues.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is still very early to understand what's happening here, and the first step is just recognizing that the behavior of this leisure activity of watching television has changed. I mean, the Breaking Bad example is very interesting. There were 1.2 million tweets about the finale, but they were spread over the week. Now, we certainly saw then a peak during the show. So, and there may be different behaviors of people who are checking in on that information around the event versus the ones that are actually in the event. For example, take the Super Bowl. There were 24.1 million tweets during the game, and then you saw a nice spike at halftime. Probably the conversation on Twitter during the game versus the halftime was also very different. So, yeah, a couple of things strike me. One is just the immense amount of data here, because it starts to get very complex. And I think you're right. There will be targeting opportunities as we start to understand this behavior. But I think at first it's probably be pretty overwhelming. I'm not sure Twitter really knows what to do with this, but it is a trend to keep an eye on. The days of just sitting still or, I guess, popping your popcorn and watching a movie on the VHS are long gone. And I think what probably was mocked originally as, wow, ADD type behavior, you can't just watch TV, you have to have that and you're tweeting, is now becoming quite commonplace. 4 out of 5 people see this as how they just like to experience their favorite TV program. We'd be really interested in your thoughts. Are you tweeting while you're watching a movie or watching TV? What gets your interest on Twitter? What is it exactly you're talking about? And if you enjoyed this video, we sure would like it if you would subscribe.